How's it going, YouTube? Hazardous here, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be ranking my personal opinion on the strength of every killer by doing another tier list. As always, these are my opinions, and if you guys think any differently, then let me know what your opinions are in the comments down below. To get things kicked off, we'll start with the first killer released and DBD's poster child, Trapper. Trapper's a tough one, because he can 4K really quickly by trapping everyone in basement, and like, the game's just over at 4 gens. But, like, most of the time he just gets stomped. It feels like corrupt intervention's a must on him. I think, excluding the basement Trapper thing, I'd probably put him in, like, C tier. He's your basic M1 killer, you know, trapping basement's always a possibility. If you get someone in basement, they're pretty much guaranteed dead if you camp it hard enough.
Now you see me, now you don't.
Moving on, we have Wraith. And Wraith, in the right hands, can, like, be pretty solid. You know, knowing when to cloak and uncloak and what loops you can play around, mind game, with the speed boost that you get coming out of it. He's definitely stronger than Trapper, but he's still, like, subpar. I think in comp settings, he's pretty much projected to get 0 kills, 1 kill, but like, in a normal, like, non-comp pub game, he still stands a good chance in most of his games. And for that, I'm probably going to put him in B tier. Next, we've got Hillbilly, and Billy's great. He's definitely high tier. You know, great mobility, can defend gens really well, apply pressure very, very hard. Camping hooks, you know, late game, it's pretty much impossible to save against a Billy that's got more than half a brain cell. But is he strong enough to rival, like, the top 2 contenders? I want to say yes. I think he can. I don't think he is stronger than, like, say, Nurse and Blight, but he is definitely up there. The high mobility, the insta-down in power, it's not too complicated to pick him up and do well. Controller is a different story, but I think it's pretty safe to say Billy goes in S tier. Again, I don't think he's stronger than, like, the other 2, but Billy's really strong.
Call an ambulance! Call an ambulance! But not for me!
Next up, we've got good old Nurse, eh? You know, if you're getting survivors going next, it's usually against her, right?
I have no idea what the fuck you're saying right now.
There is not much to say about Nurse. I mean, her power's insane. The core mechanics of Dead by Daylight go out the window against her. I feel like I don't see her all that often, so most people aren't, like, accustomed to how to loop a Nurse, you know, break LOS. I mean, you're not even safe on indoor maps. Nurse is S tier, there's no debate in that.
Ooh, Mario's Tunnel of Doom. Very scary.
Okay, next up on the list, we have Mikey. And Mikey has been sat very low in the tier lists for ever since his release. I mean, in tier 1, he's really fucking slow. He has, like, no lunge. He is weak. You know, tier 3 can make a lot of survivors panic. The snowball potential is insane. But, like, how strong can he be? Not very. I think tier 3 doesn't last long enough unless you bring add-ons to create any real threat. And again, he is just an M1 killer. Like, his power is staring at people, and then, like, getting his power to tier 3 is just vault windows slightly faster. You still break pallets at the same speed. A bigger lunge. So it feels like Bamboozle is pretty much a must on him. But when it runs out, you're back to square 1. Well, square 2, I suppose. I don't think he's as weak as Trapper due to the fact that he can get insta-downs. So I'm going to put him in the B tier.
I think Hag is one of the most fun killers to play as, and one of the most fun killers to play against.
Stop the cap.
Okay, moving on, we've got Hag. And Hag is notoriously weak as piss. I still remember the days Matthew Cote got bullied on the Asian servers on some, like, live stream or something. You know, she was indirectly buffed with removing the ability to shine a flashlight on her phantasm traps and get rid of them. You know, it's now replaced by having to crouch over it and do an animation. So it does take more time, but a coordinated team shits all over Hag. Like, every time. If everyone's playing solo, she can pose a threat due to, like, not being able to com anything, but even just playing in a duo, Hag's really weak and suffers from that. I don't think I put her in F, or would I, actually, because she's like Trapper, but worse and slower. Like, her base speed is 110. I don't want to be rude to Gummy Peach Strings, so I am going to say she's lower than Trapper, but she's not quite F tier. Like, there are weaker killers in the game.
I am a surgeon!
Next up, we've got Herman. Herman he's not bad, but he's not terrible. I wouldn't put him somewhere high like A tier. Doctor is not strong. A good team always seems to dominate against him. You know, once you've played against him a few times, you feel like you know when they're going to shock and when you need to pre-throw, and, you know, you just sort of reduce to an M1 killer, maybe. I feel like he's middle. Like, he's not great, but he's not dog shit either. Like, he is better than a Trapper and a Hag. Like, he is not in his own league better than the rest. I feel like putting him, like, in the middle there would be better. You know what I mean? Like, he's not Wraith potential great. He can locate people really well. And with the buffs he received as well, if you don't hit anyone with your Static Blast, you tend to get it back. Yeah, I think that's a safe bet on Doctor.
Shut up, drink wolf milk and watch Russian cartoons.
Next up on our tier list, we have Huntress. And Huntress is... I feel like it's safe to say Huntress is better than Wraith. Don't know whether I'd put her A tier or not. Like, she can literally hit you from across the map. Good Huntresses with aura reading builds are absolutely insane. Like, you won't know where she is and you'll just get hit with a hatchet. Good teams, again, will, you know, take advantage of the fact she's 110, loop a pallet, but if you know when to leave and when, like, survivors are going to be on gens, you know, Discordance is underrated on Huntress. So she is definitely, like, at least high B tier. I'm not really sure of any ways that she can be improved, but she is very strong, especially in the right hands as well. If you're starting out on her, you know, you'll miss a lot of hatchets and you'll lose a few games, but I've played my fair share of Huntress back in the day, and you know, I consistently did quite well. I feel like she's always able to put up a fight, even in the toughest games. So I'd say a high B tier is like the best place for her. Next up, we have the fan favorite and everybody's favorite companion, Bubba. Bubba is definitely better since the buffs. I think he was easily bullyable, and that's why people liked him so much, but, you know, Bubba hasn't lost his charm with the buffs. He poses more of a threat, but it's still as goofy as ever. So Bubba, for me, at least when I play him, you know, survivors tend to greed pallets thinking they can make it, and they can't usually due to the fact that, you know, his speed when using his chainsaw has been increased, and the length of each token that you get has been increased. And so I feel like people still don't quite understand his potential. I feel like this is yet another B tier killer that could be improved, but I just wouldn't know how without, like, making him overpowered. Bubba face camps, and he does that shit well, even to the point where they gave him his own thing where you can't be hit twice in quick succession. I am happy to put him, like, high B tier. I won't quite put him A tier because then it's, like, getting very close to rivaling those, like, Nurse, Hillbilly, Blight, and stuff like that. I don't know. Moving on, we're at Freddy Krueger, and Freddy is honestly just terrible. He's like a worse clown. It's like Clown's baby brother. You know, you could use the pallets, but even then, like, you've got to chomp through a load of pallets before you start getting use out of it, and survivors aren't stupid. They know exactly which pallet's going to be fake. If they're in a team, they'll just come to the friends what pallet's been thrown. And you'll know never to throw it, and that isn't a safe spot. And he loses his power the longer the game goes. So, like, you get the gens done, he literally can't do anything. Unless you're me, then he's S tier. Like, if you guys have seen the previous video, you'll know that I personally make Freddy the best killer in the game, rivaling Nurse, Blight, and Hillbilly. He's better than the rest of them. But if you're not me, and you don't make Freddy S tier, then he's F. There is no debate to be had. Moving on, we're at Pig, and Pig very recently also just received some buffs, and I think she's stronger. Unfortunately, the bear traps became weaker with that buff, I think. Like, Pig still poses a good threat. She was the first killer introduced that had a secondary objective, and that definitely helped. I think she was still hella bullyable. If she tunnels you out with a hat on, good luck getting out. Like, she can pretty much always guarantee a kill. But in terms of, like, overall strength, I would probably say she's, like, here in between Wraith and Huntress. She could definitely be improved. She's not, like, struggles to get even one kill or anything like that. Like, she's not C tier. She's definitely, like, mid-big. She could be improved, but she was also a lot worse back in the day. And I'm more than happy with that, like, placing on the tier list. Next up, we have Clown. And I've been playing a lot of Clown recently. Clown is very much a killer I do enjoy playing. I tend not to run gen defense perks on him. You know, Stabiffle, Rapid Brutality. But I feel like even with like gen regression and stuff like that, or without it, Clown definitely poses a threat. A lot of people struggle to play against Clown, but if you go against him enough times, you'll pretty much know that you can get a loop out of a pallet before throwing it. But if you don't think you're going to get away safely, just pre-throw it. Like, if he wastes time throwing a bottle, kicking the pallet, going round, you've still got a bit of distance. You can make it to another safe tile before looping it again. And I feel like he's definitely very well balanced. Clown, I think I'm happy to put like higher B tier. Would I put him above? Yeah, I'll put him above Bubba. I feel like any more buffs and it'll become a question of if he's overpowered or not. So moving on, next up we have Spirit. And Spirit was the talk of the town a few years ago. She didn't really have any counterplay, especially on release. You had no idea whether she was phasing. You couldn't even tell if she was vaulting a window. She just stood still for a second and all of a sudden she was like on the other side. It seemed like she'd phase until now, where she sort of like hops onto the window then over, and now they've added directional phasing as well, so that's definitely helped weaken her. Before those nerfs, she was definitely up here in S tier, but I think she will safely be our first A tier killer. In the right hands, she decimates even some of like the best teams in the game, you know, like normal pub games, stuff like that. You know, she still dominates. Next in the tier list, we have Legion, and Legion has been through a plethora of changes throughout the years. When he released, he was absolutely broken. You know, you've got Nurse, Blight, Billy that just decimate, and Legion did the same, but not in a healthy way. You know, at least with Nurse, you can say she is still quite healthy. She might break the core, like, foundations of the game and how you loop a killer, but she's still very fair. Legion just wasn't. Legion was just guaranteed 3 hits every time, hitting you multiple times, depleting your men timer, but he's still very boring to play and overall not very strong. I think him being able to secure a down by hitting 4 people definitely helps increase his tier. You know, he is still, again, not in power. He doesn't pose a threat of getting a down, so he is just an M1 killer as well. I'm going to put Legion, like, around here. I do think he is stronger than Doctor, but I don't think he's stronger than Wraith.
You belong in a museum.
Next up, we have Plague. I don't really know where I stand with Plague, because like, I seem to do well against her, and I don't play enough of her myself to say whether she's strong or not. I feel like if anyone cleanses mid-game, it could be her game for the taking, because that ranged power is insane. It's got barely any cooldown, it's got a long range, so she is quite strong. I think if Plague isn't like a high B, she's probably an A. I gotta say, she does pose a threat. She keeps everyone injured all game. She has access to a ranged ability that can hit multiple people. Yeah, I'm happy to put her A tier, honestly. I might not see Plagues do very well in games against me, but I do know that she is definitely strong. Following up with the next killer, we have Ghostface. And Ghostface is pretty, like, run-of-the-mill. He is M1 killer with an insta-downing ability. He can pretty much go undetectable on command with a short cooldown. And I think with recent buffs, he's in a better position. I think he was pretty bullyable, maybe struggling to get kills sometimes, but like now with the like base kit Philly add-on now included in his kit, I think he's definitely a lot stronger. I do think he would probably sit B tier. Where is a matter of question though. I think I would probably put her would I put her above Pig Gamers? Yeah, we'll just put there. You know, it's hard to distinguish, you know, what killer's stronger than the other, so I'm not going to focus on that too much. Just Ghostface is B tier, and that's all you need to know.
Who let the dogs out? Woof, woof, woof.
Moving on, we've got Demogorgon. I'm pretty sure, like I said in the last video, everybody likes Demogorgon, and if you don't, like, please give me a legitimate reason why. Demogorgon's amazing, and in terms of strength, you know, he can traverse across the map with his portals, but he's also got access to a ranged shred attack. He can fake it, which I know a lot of people find annoying, but Demo gets away with it because he's cute. I feel like Demo is quite strong. I probably wouldn't say she's a stronger spirit, but I'm tempted to lean towards putting her in putting him in A tier. Everyone likes a demo, and he's got the cuteness factor as well. So yeah, we'll put him in A tier. He can defend gens, totems, hit you from a distance. I think he's pretty B tier. You think he's B tier? I'm gonna put him top of the B tier then. I feel like that's a fair assessment of his abilities. Next up on the list, we have Oni, my little brony. Oni's, in my opinion, one of the most balanced killers in the game. You know, you've got to have a strong M1 chase to start off, maybe get a couple injures, force penance maybe, sloppy butcherer, keep him injured, get the blood flowing, and then before you know it, you have access to one of the best powers in the game, which is running really fucking quick and insta-downing, with the ability of flicking as well, might I add, for a bit of skill expression fans out there. And I think Oni has to go in A tier, purely because if you're good at M1 killers and you're good at like high mobility killers, Oni will probably be your favorite killer. You know, you hit a couple people, you get that power, and before you know it, you're snowballing everybody. And it's insane, and it feels good while you do it. Oni deserves that A tier, I think.
Am I talking too fast for you or something? I reckon you get up out of here.
Moving on, we have Deathslinger, and Deathslinger is a killer I find myself playing quite a bit recently, and not just because he's now been released in 2v8, but because I'm a Wild West fanatic, for one, and secondly, who doesn't love games where you can just shoot people? And Deathslinger does that, and he does it well. So, in terms of strength, he's a 110 killer, and that's pretty wank. Like, let's be honest, 110 killers suffer heavily, especially on small loops. Like, you'll end up respecting the pallet, and because you respected and they didn't throw, they are running around that another 17 times. But if you're in the open, or if you think you have a bit of distance against him, Deathslinger's just going to pull you right back, and it's going to be horrible. Deep wound, so keeping them injured for even longer if you decide to drop chase. But I do think he is quite strong. Don't know what the comp community says about him, but I'm probably going to put him in B tier. Moving on, we're at Pyramid Head, and I'm not going to lie to you, like, I don't know if you guys have watched a previous video. I'm not the biggest fan of Pyramid Head. I never have been. You know, you get to a pallet and he spams M2, and you just get hit through everything. Not my personal idea of a fun time on Dead by Daylight, but I know that a few people really fucking love this killer, and I will never, for the life of me, understand why. I get hit in a clip where hitting all 4 people with your punishment in Shack is like really satisfying, and it is, I'll give you that. However, is he A tier? And to answer that question, I don't quite honestly know. I don't see them that much, but I do feel like in the right hands, he is very strong and poses a threat. And, you know, for the fact that 1, ranged, 2, it hits through literally everything apart from upstairs, I think. I think it will still hit going downstairs, but upstairs, like, it won't. And he is insane at tunneling. I will say that. Like, if you want a tunnel, and I know a lot of you do, then this killer is probably your favorite pick. He completely ignores hooks as well, so, you know, you won't have to worry about dead hard or off the record or anything like that. Cage them, and then go to the complete opposite side of the map, and boom, they're there without borrowed time, and you can just down them again. Moving on, we've got Blight. And Blight, without a doubt, is S tier. He's got high mobility, his chases don't usually last very long, especially if they know what they're doing. You slap gen regression on this guy, and you are flying. Like, literally, you are flying. He runs that quick, he starts lifting off the ground, just downing everybody in his path. Blight is a machine. I've played enough of him to know that even good teams fall against a Blight. This pinball machine will fucking dominate the games. In my opinion, is just one of many reasons why I think Blight would probably top Nurse.
Ready, Ike? Kick the baby! Don't kick the baby. Kick the baby.
Moving on, we've got Twins, and Twins is definitely bottom of the barrel. She promotes slugging, but Victor's probably going to have downed the survivor on the other side of the map, so you have to walk all the way there, and with Wiglif, I know it's getting nerfed again, but with Wiglif being a possibility, and it being in a lot of people's builds at the minute, all that slugging goes out the window. I don't know, I feel like a good Twins would probably dominate a game. You see them once every 6 months, and I usually lose against the Twins. I'm not gonna lie to you. You're saying A tier? Really? You're saying A tier? That's crazy. I would probably put her in C. But then again, I don't know, like, the comp side of this game, so I don't know how well twins are doing that setting, or if she had better mobility on going towards Victor, then B tier, A tier range. I feel like even then, with better mobility going towards Victor, probably wouldn't be enough to say A tier. I don't know, this one's gonna probably be the most, like, subjective one on the list. You know, if we're talking, like, solo queuing, slugging, stuff like that, I'm gonna put her in B tier. I feel like, 1, bugs hold her back. 2, mobility holds her back. You know, you wake up from Victor and you're just fucking, like, nowhere. Ah, that's a good point. Camping with Victor. Yeah, you might be right there, actually. I'm gonna put her towards the top of B tier, then. People on YouTube, if you haven't already followed my Twitch, go and do that now. Editor, put a little, follow my Twitch in the video.
Loser says what?
I know what you're trying to do. I'm not going to say what.
You're a loser! You loserhead! I hate you!
Right, next up on the tier list, we have Trickster. And Trickster is difficult. His 1v1, like, chase potential is really fucking strong. Chases don't tend to last very long against a Trickster, but he's not 110 anymore, he's 115, so he does have that little tiny boost in mobility. Is it enough to change the course of the game? Probably not. You can end one more. That's about it. Like, he's got no secondary objective. He has to walk from A to B, just like Pyramid Head does, except this guy throws a lot, but it doesn't go through walls. If you're using like ricochet blades and shatter blades and stuff like that, you know, that will probably help your case. And you get main event quickly, so if you've got main event or someone's unhooking, your tunneling is just like become guaranteed. Like, you will down the person that got unhooked, or both if you're very lucky. Do I put him A tier? Is he A tier because of, like, tunneling potential and stuff? Like, plus some loops, it's hard to use pat. Yeah, you are kind of limited to M1 in on certain loops, aren't you? Because like the God Rocks and shit in Macmillan, they're really strong against him. That looks a bit better, doesn't it?
Hey, Dad, that's a cool whip. I thought you couldn't understand me!
Next up, we have Nemesis, and I fucking love Nemesis. Slow start, I won't lie. Tier 1 is pretty weak as piss. You have to hit multiple people, but since his buff, like, 2 hits, so you infect them and then injure them, and, you know, with Marvin's Blood, you get tier 2 at the click of a finger. Lickitung and Marvin's Blood are, like, the go-to combo because they just make no distance on the initial infection. Then you injure them and you get tier 2, and you get normal distance on that injure, but after he got buffed, he's definitely A tier. I'm in agreement with that, honestly. Like, he's A tier for me. The dragon possibilities, the tier 3 extended range, 6.5 meters, crazy ass hitbox, which is probably the most unique hitbox in the game, second only to Plagues, that's like a machine gun of hatchets. Shit, zombie look. Yeah, the zombies as well. I was going to completely neglect that part, but overall, like, Nemesis is strong as fuck. I'm going to put him above Pyramid Head purely because I don't like Pyramid Head, and I fucking love Nemesis, so I'm quite happy with that.
You open the box.
Next up in this tier list, we have Pinhead, the Cenobite. And Cenobite, like, who was it that Pig has another secondary objective, and you have to go and pick up the box, and if you don't, it spawns chain hunts, which pretty much mean you can't do shit. Even in chase, you get caught with a chain. Doing gens, nope. Healing, nope. Like, you can't do any of that. Someone has to go for the box. And if you're in solo queue, this guy's probably going to shit all over your day. I can't lie, his chase potential isn't great. It can still be mind-gamed even if you hit a chain. Like, if you're at a window vault and it's not very short, the killer can't loop around it quick enough because you can still vault pallets and windows with chains. Yeah, we're all saying B tier. I'm quite happy with that. I think he's high B tier. I think he's probably better than Demo purely because of the secondary objective. You can find the box yourself as well, which is really fucking nice. So yeah, I feel like high B is probably a really valid placement for Pinhead. Moving on, we've got Artist. Artist is a killer with a high skill ceiling that you won't see often, and you'll either get destroyed by or you destroy them. Though more recently I am running into better artists, her overall strength for me would probably be A tier. She harasses people like from across the map with birds. She has great add-ons that reduce the cooldown of a birds or swarm anyone else that's next to a swarm survivor. Zoning ability, like in the right hands, Artist is fucking strong. I'm not gonna say she's like definitely up there, but I feel like she's probably rivaling Oni in terms of power, and if she was better than Oni, then she's rivaling fucking Spirit.
They say if you watch that video, you die.
Ah, that's a lot of baloney.
So moving on, we next have Onryo. Onryo is the third killer to come out, not excluding like boxes for Nemesis and Wesker, that features a secondary objective, the Oreo. Yup, the Oreo. If you can't be bothered saying her name properly, I suppose. Literally a pup destroyer. She is an M1 killer, but she can, like, not get stunned by pallets if she's demanifested. So she can pretty much just make quick work of pallets, which is really nice. There's no denying her overall strength and ability to just quickly gain condemn. And I think for that reason alone, she's A tier. And I think even, like, good four-mans struggle with, like, coordinating tapes because everyone's off of gens. I know the play is to just, you know, take a tape next to a gen instantly, start repairing that gen, and then, like, turn the TV off when it turns back on, gain your condemned a little bit. But because that TV is off next to your gen, she's not going to, like, be able to lock it in or teleport next to you. If we're going for Swifts being in the question as well, I'm not putting a low B. I think I'll put a high B. I think I will put her at the top of B.
I just want to beat my meat. I just want to beat my meat. Let me beat my meat. Let me beat my meat.
Moving on, we have Dredge. Dredge is interesting. He definitely brought the horror factor back to Dead by Daylight with the Nightfall event. Not the Nightfall event, but you know what I mean. Like his power and stuff like that. He's definitely strong in Nightfall. You have no idea where he is, which is great. Dredge could get it, not gonna lie. Hey, fucking yo. Ho ho. Chat. What the fuck? Now you made me lose my train of thought. God damn it. Is he strong enough to warrant, like, getting out of this big group of B-tier killers? I'd say Dredge is mid-B. Well, that sounds like he's going in this big group of B-tier killers. He is kind of hot, though. Gamers, what the fuck? Put the bottom B tiers in C tier. What, you reckon these go C tier? I still feel like Dredge is really strong. Like, especially against, like, solo queue people. I don't know. I'm happy with Dredge being, like, mid-B.
7 minutes. 7 minutes is all I can spare to play with you.
Next up on the tier list, we have Wesker. And Wesker was the fan favorite a year or two ago. Everyone was playing him. Everyone knew he was powerful. He had insane tunneling potential. And he does still have that tunneling potential. It just, 1, takes longer, and 2, doesn't have much of an effect. Going from 8% hinder on max infection to 4%, and now it takes like 80 seconds to be fully infected. But he is still strong. Like, his whole bound ability is really strong. Hug techs and stuff like that. Wesker has it all. He is very strong. And I'm going to be quick to say he goes in A tier above Nemesis because Wesker is still stronger than Nemesis, but not quite rivaling spirit and artist, in my opinion.
I am Arthur, King of the Britons. I seek the finest and the bravest knights in the land to join me in my court at Camelot.
So, next, we have Knight. Knight is trash. He got buffed. He can cycle through his own guards now, which is really nice. Assassin pretty much gets picked every time, unless it's Carnifex for breaking a pallet or a door. But overall, like, the 3-gen meta has gone out the window these days. You can only kick a gen 8 times. So, his strength has all but dissipated. I'd honestly say he would probably be, like, high C. Because Knight can't... He can tunnel. I suppose Assassin's got the speed, but even if he's looping with a guard, that guard just disappears very quickly. So they've completely mitigated, like, anything. Delete Knight, please.
Yeah, can you give me a ride to the... Yeah! What is that thing? Make it go away!
Next up on the tier list, we have Skull Merchant, and I'm going to be very quick to point out that Behavior even admitted that Skull Merchant got nerfed into the ground, just so that they could say she's not problematic anymore. She only has 1 beam, it rotates like 10 degrees faster than what it used to, so that's terrible. You know, they slowed her down when she was checking her iPad. She's all around a terrible killer with not much potential. She's a glorified M1 killer with a little bit of stealth, but she is literally like one of, if not the worst killers in the game now.
It was programmed to harm the crew.
Singularity. Singularity is definitely an insane killer that I don't see picked often, and I don't understand why, because Singularity is very fucking strong. I'm honestly going to quickly throw him up into the A tier real quick, and I'm going to explain my decision. We are entering an age of slugging in Dead by Daylight. The survivors are hating it, but the killers are finding out that sometimes there is just no other choice. And if you slap on Knockout, Infectious Fright, and stuff like that with the Iridescent, and there's another add-on and stuff like like that, you'll find that you quickly and efficiently wipe the floor with every team in every game with like 4 gens left. Singularity is insanely strong. And I've actually seen a comp player, I think it might have been like Virtual Reality or someone like that, or Xeno maybe, using Xenomorph, and he 4K'd at 4 gens. Everyone's aware of how strong Singularity is, but he never gets picked. If gen kicking limit wasn't a thing, he could contend for S tier maybe. I completely agree. Like, he was another killer like Knight that benefited from just sitting next to 3 generators all game and not moving.
No more will I treat you like some kind of alien.
Next up on the tier list, and we're nearing the end now, is Xenomorph, and I was very disappointed when Xenomorph released. He had crawler mode, and I was expecting him to, like, run on walls or something, but I set my expectations way too high, and got very disappointed. His tail attack's still unique, it's got a very unique hitbox, and you can actually hit over things that you don't think you should be able to hit over, but you can do it anyway, it's like with a flick of your camera. In terms of strength, I think good teams will set up turrets very well. You tend to put 2 together so that it guarantees knocking them out of crawler mode. Set them up where you plan on looping. With Xenomorph, you have to plan ahead, and if you don't, you get fucked. But I still think he's like a B tier killer, possibly even C, like a lot of survivors. Just playing in a duo, you can shit all over a Xenomorph. But I'm happy to put him, like, probably there-ish. I feel like that's probably about right.
I said talk to me, damn it, or else I'm gonna throw you in the fire!
Moving on, we have Chucky. And Chucky's bugged at the minute. And I don't like playing against a bugged Chucky because I can't hear him, like, readying up his slice and dice. He gets his power back way too quickly in my eyes. I'm gonna say Chucky, straight up, is probably an A-tier killer. Like, they had to make it so that he was a 110 killer with no mobility. But he gets his power back that quick that 1v1 chases are just very quick. Next up, we have Unknown. Unknown is another killer that, like the Dredge, brought the fear factor back to DBD for me. The noise when he's teleporting is insane. Like, it scares me, but it gives me adrenaline as well. I'm like, yes, let's go! Chase me, Unknown, chase me! You know, he's got very good mobility with being able to teleport. They take a little while to set up, but once you've got them set up and the survivors don't touch them, that's when you start to snowball really, really quickly. I have noticed that when playing against and as Unknown, that if survivors don't tinker with your clones or whatever you call them, hallucinations. Well, I don't know what you call them, but his clones, you will find yourself dominating games. Ranged ability, sort of similar to Nemesis with needing to infect them and for them to be infected to injure. And I feel like it's really unique that you have to stare him down to get rid of it as well. You know, I feel like his mechanic of being stared down promotes looking back in chases, which survivors should be doing anyway. Strength-wise, I'm not gonna lie, I would probably place him high B. And it'd probably be like just under Onryo, but like above everybody else.
You have made a huge mistake.
Moving on to the final 3 killers, we have Vecna. Now, when Vecna came to the game in the PTB, it took me a while to figure out where he is in terms of strength, and I'm still wondering that to this day, but I've got a better, like, understanding of it now. Mage Hand, you know, if you pre-throw the pallet, I feel like that's probably better, because if he uses Mage Hand and keeps it up, and it's not a tiny loop, the survivor will just throw it again. But, like, overall, with his 4-part S-tier Vecna, no. He's definitely not S-tier. But apart from that, you know, it's quite underwhelming, I can't lie. Don't forget Flight of the Damned if you haven't already talked about it. Yeah, I have. I've spoke about Flight of the Damned. It's honestly really balanced, and if you can get a hit with it, then honestly, well done. So overall strength for Vecna, I don't quite know where I'd place it. I feel like Vecna in the right hands is a force to be reckoned with. Those that know the way around all 4 of his powers, when to use them, situations to use them in, and stuff like that. So I feel like he's pretty run-of-the-mill B tier. He could definitely use some buffs in some areas, but you've got to be careful what you buff.
Oh, come on, just give it a try.
All right, maybe just a little.
Next up on the list, we have Dracula, the penultimate killer. And Dracula, right off the bat, you know, most of us already know his potential. He is strong. His Hellfire needs a bit of a longer cooldown. He can transform real quick to get makeshift save the best for last with, like, no cooldown. If he lands on top of you, if he's got good ears like Spirit, he's just getting a hit every single time. Scott Jund won 10 games in a row with only transforming back and forth between Bat, because that's how strong he is. So I think this one's really glaringly obvious. Just below Spirit or just above Spirit? Like, that's the only question I've got for you guys now. Finally, but certainly not least, we have the brand new Houndmaster. And I'm quite excited to see what they do, bringing her to life, because my overall impressions were that she is very, very fucking weak. The dog completely gets, like, shot into the ground every time.
Quick, drag her to the pallet. Great, thanks, dog. Really well done. Perfect. God, this killer sucks.
You know, his line in the PTB of where he's going to attack is actually quite slim. He gets stuck and just doesn't fucking move most of the time, which is really annoying. Tracking as well, I've found that sometimes I can select him to go to a gen, and other times he just goes near it, which is also incredibly frustrating, so they need to be more clear on that. But I did win a game. I definitely won a game. It was very hard, I remember it. That game is actually featured in one of the shorts I uploaded on how to play as the Houndmaster. But as my chat's calling me out to say, needs buffs, and I completely agree. I'm going to put her at top of the C tier, and that's purely because in the PTB, Snug just didn't fucking do anything for me. So she was basically a glorified M1 killer, and glorified M1 killers get put in C tier. So yeah, that's the end of my tier list. If you guys have any differing opinions, please let me know what you guys think in the comments below. This is a completely subjective tier list, so it is just my opinion, so please don't get too offended if I put a killer that you like in a lower tier. But please, if you guys did enjoy the video, please be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you all for my first 100 subs. Seriously, the support of starting out YouTube has been massively appreciated. So if you guys would like to join my community Discord server, the link to that is in the comments below. Go follow my Twitch if you haven't already. I appreciate and love all of you, and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye, everybody.